Hello and welcome to
Hello.
oh, hi.
Oh, I'm
Welcome
sorry.
to the no, it's okay. You're good, I promise. Welcome to the This is Dissing My Ability podcast. I am your host, Ken Meeker. My guest today is somebody who I first met as part of a fellowship through the American Foundation for the Blind, or AFB. They have a blind leaders development program, and both of us. You are also a fellow, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're both fellows and we're both about to graduate here in August this year. I had the pleasure of actually meeting in person a little earlier this year in DC at the AFB National Leadership Conference. With that, I'd like to introduce my guest today, Aaron Linson.
Hi.
and,
Again.
and if you could just say, say hi and introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
world, and let anyone who's listening know, a little about you and a little about your disability and how it affects you sort of on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Sure. So, as Ken said, my name is Aaron Linson. I am a recruiter for Amazon Web Services in my professional life, and am I call myself blind because that's what I am. I have retinopathy of prematurity, which means that I was born 4 months premature, weighed 1 pound and 8 ounces, could literally fit in the palm of your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, due to that, my mom said that the doctors told her that I would be a 99% chance of being a vegetable, and that obviously didn't happen,
Mhm.
which
You
I
don't,
am
yeah, you don't look like a zucchini to me.
right, right, which I am glad of. But I think and know that that is a miracle within itself. Being I'll just say it, being 32 now. When I tell people, they're like, "Wow, that's really amazing," and it truly is. But my disability affects me in a lot of ways. So I can only see sometimes a foot in front of my face. And that has gotten worse as time has gotten on. So I could see 20 over 200 from, well, from when I remember. So probably about 4 or 5, I remember being able to see pretty good until February 14th of 2018. I just noticed that I couldn't see as well. So went to the ophthalmologist. That went down to 20 over 400, which people don't know what that is. The scale, what you see at 20 feet, I could see at 400 feet, and vice versa when I could see 20 over 200.
Mhm.
20 over 200, was pretty good. I learned how to use a cane, how to read Braille. I actually forced my school for the blind to teach me Braille because they were not going to teach me. Said that I could read large print and that would be totally fine. But
That
work
was
it,
from the school, the
yeah, that was
school.
from
Oh,
the
wow.
blind school. That
Oh,
was from
wow.
the blind school. And so, yeah, that was my first advocacy lesson there. But also in 2018, I had a cataract that moved up into the vision, my central vision. But also and I've never heard of this, but it's tear duct tearing, where there will be a film that goes over all the eye and what's being able to be seen out of it. And it's something that doesn't start until the light comes in to the pupil. So there's also light sensitivity on top of that as well. So
Wow.
it's a pretty pretty fun and interesting ride, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I didn't know that. In 2008, it's funny how we remember dates, isn't it? Like
Yes.
I know mine when my vision was gone was July 4th, 2014. I mean, it's hard to forget July 4th, but it's like we remember those
Right.
dates. It's I think that's pretty interesting how we can, recall those unfortunate days of, oh, I don't get to see anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
I just want to, anybody listening out there, prior to my guest coming on, I send them a quick questionnaire where I just ask them a few basic questions. And so take a look at it. It helps me prepare and stuff like that, even if it's
Mhm.
somebody I know. But On yours, I couldn't. I had to chuckle just a little bit, but and now actually it makes a little bit more sense to me. But one of the questions I asked about how disability affects you, and one of your answers was not being able to see a foot in front of my face. And so
Right.
I'm literally thinking a foot, like a foot, and I'm like, all right, we can see how that would be unfortunate,
Right.
because tying shoes and and I
Hmm.
and so now I get it. And it's like, oh, literally a foot in front of
Yeah.
your face, and so I was like, but I laughed not, but because I could relate to that. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
got, sometimes I can't see it, things that are right in front of my face half the time too. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Right.
either way, it's also kind of true. But getting back to that. So if you could talk about like what's it like for for people that are sighted, it's often difficult to sort of convey what it's like, especially like because I have a little
Hmm.
bit of usable sight, and sometimes that doesn't play to my advantage because most I
Right.
don't see most things. I'm a good guesser sometimes,
Hmm.
but if you could share like some of the how does it affect like how do you have you had to modify because you went from having some usable vision, and
Hmm.
it was kind of some of the stuff that you day-to-day basis that you do, obviously you take on braille, but just in terms of
Hmm.
what's different? What have what have the most significant changes been in your sort of day-to-day life?
Sure. So the most significant changes, obviously, in terms of seeing, so 20 over 200, it's pretty good. I could have walked around without a cane, but I, my mom basically told me, look, you're going to be as independent as possible, and I'm going to push you to do things that you don't want to do. Get over it and just do it. And I'm glad that she did,
Yeah.
because I was then exposed to a cane. I was going around across the streets and intersections and stuff at 5, 6 years old, thanks to my mobility instructor, because she had the same mindset as my mom did. So it helped out to my advantage and also their advantage as well. But I could have walked around without a cane with 20 over 200 vision, and I knew people at the School for the Blind that did. But I got so used to it, and it was such a part of my life that trying to go without it scared me. So I'd never have. And that's one thing that I tell people who are newly blinded or people who are just learning. It's your eyes, so you
Hmm.
have to use that. She's going to kill me, but a friend of ours who actually went to the conference as well, it was her first time using a cane, and she would tell me that it was changing her life, and I still talk to her to today, and she said it's the most awesome thing that she has ever had.
I remember that. I remember,
Yeah.
I didn't realize, that, because we all went to dinner that first night, and
Hmm.
I didn't know that she had never used a cane before until
Yeah.
until later, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, wow, that's incredible. Now that you mention it, like so, something that I know I've encountered, and I imagine you probably have too, is people feel often if with the use of a cane they feel a
Hmm.
stigma, like
Yes.
that everybody's looking at you, and my answer to that is they probably are, because you're probably the first person
Yes.
that with a cane that they've ever seen.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's not that they're staring at you because they're like, ah ha ha, there's the blind person. They've just
Right.
literally never seen it in person before. And so there's a curiosity factor, I think. I've always kind of viewed as an opportunity to
Hmm.
open up people's minds to
Yes.
how awesome using a cane actually can be. I can
Right.
if the power goes, if it's dark, I'm good.
Right.
People that
Exactly.
are completely
Exactly.
reliant on their sight are not, you know.
Right. Exactly. But
And
it's that
so
social model of disability, right? It's
yeah,
it's okay if the power went out today, or if the lights went out in whatever place, you could get around just fine. Where I can guarantee you about 85 to about 90% of the people in that building would be screwed, to be
yeah,
quite honest with you.
yeah.
And they would be looking to you
Hmm.
for guidance.
Yeah, and
And
then exactly, it's a
yeah,
superpower. It's not
yeah, it
something to
is.
feel any
It
sense
is.
of shame about.
It's not.
And I'm so glad that your mom pushed you to do that to learn the
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't always use one. And if I'm in
Mhm.
an environment that I'm very familiar with and it's light outside, I have it with me, but I don't necessarily always have it out. But
Right. Right.
it's a tool, and I
Hmm.
use every single tool that I need in order to keep me safe, in order to keep me,
Correct.
So it's like, don't, people feel like, the people they're gonna look at me. They're gonna look at you
Hmm.
anyway. They're
Anyways,
gonna
right.
see, they're gonna
There's
see,
something wrong with you.
but they're not gonna
They
think
know
something's
it.
wrong. Yeah, but they're not
Right.
gonna think something's wrong.
They're
They're
just
just gonna see,
curious.
yeah, exactly. It's a curiosity factor, and that's
And yeah.
okay. There's nothing
Yeah. And
wrong with
this is
that.
why there's not. And this is why I love kids a lot because they'll just come out and ask it.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
parents are like, no, don't. They're like, and I have the thing. It's like, if you're not gonna, I can't see you enough to begin with. So if you're not gonna speak up, then I'm not gonna know. But kids, they just blurt it out. And it's like,
Mhm.
I love kids because then you're able to talk to them about it, and you're able to push that barrier back to oh, I met this blind adult, and here's what he told me about his cane or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's that person's first or that kid's first experience. I always think about it as would I want that to be my kid's first experience? How would I want
yeah.
my kid's first experience to be like?
Yeah, and I
You
don't
know?
know if you've had a similar experience, but like with kids, like my experience by far has been that they think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're
that's for
like,
certain. Yeah.
you can get around with your eyes closed. Cool. Like
Yep.
kids are,
Yeah.
kids are great. I agree.
They are. To go back to your regular question. So I actually, when I did lose more of the vision, so I knew how to primarily use a screen reader because I taught blind kids in high school at the School for the Blinds, but I mainly used magnification software that blew the screen up to where I
Mhm.
needed it. And I was about at anywhere from 4 to 6x, which that blows the screen up a bit, but not enough to where you have to kind of it takes more effort than it does to just use a screen reader.
Yeah,
Well, I noticed that 20 over 400 and having the other issues, the cataract and the tear duct tearing, at the time I didn't know what that was, so I thought it was glaucoma, but it wasn't. Turned out to not be that. I got to the point where I did magnify the entire screen all the way to the maximum that the software could go.
that's it. That's a lot. That's like 20 times, isn't it?
Yeah,
Most of them. Yeah,
yeah,
that's big.
most
That's
of them.
yeah.
And by doing that, my work was being impeded. It took me a while to realize that because I didn't want to be one of those people that relied on a screen reader. I just didn't want to be. But I found out that I basically was thinking about it to myself and I said, okay, if this is the way it's going to be and there's no cure for it. There's nothing that I can do to make it better. Then I'm just going to go full in on it. I took the mouse off the computer, I took the monitor off the computer, and I learned how to use my screen reader in more advanced ways than I had never thought possible. And I taught people how to do it, so I knew how to do it, but I never sat down and did it myself.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
that's
made it
awesome.
faster.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
And
I
that's,
tell people all the
yeah,
time, keyboard, if you want to learn, like if you want to be fast on a computer sighted or not, doesn't matter. Get rid
right.
of your mouse and learn keyboard commands. If you
Yep.
want to be fast on a computer, that's the first thing you do. I don't know why they're not more popular. They make you so much more efficient. And it's like I use a screen reader to proofread, because I write,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
having it read it back, there. I don't know why
You pick
everybody
up
doesn't
things.
use one because
Right, right.
it's like
Exactly.
you
Because
catch
you
so
pick
many
up
things.
things.
Yeah,
You
but
do.
they're
You do.
fantastic. They're
And it's
fantastic.
like you can tell, like I tell people, okay, like think of all the phishing scams and all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
We know if a link is good or not because we can hear it. You
Yeah.
guys are looking at it and trying to figure it out. We can look at it and know what's going on and understand it because we can read it faster.
Yeah, and it
And
it doesn't come up as a correct
exactly.
as a link that
Right.
you're gonna click. So it's like, nope, no, thank
Exactly.
you. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's they're it's I think it all kind of goes back to stigma, and we put these labels on ourselves like, this make that sense of otherness or
Right.
that difference is bad. No, the fact that I know my keyboard commands makes me
Yep.
a lot faster than most people on a computer where they're with
Yep.
their mouse trying to click around and do
Yeah.
stuff. I can get around a lot faster.
Exactly.
And so one thing that you mentioned, and you've kind of
Hmm.
touched on it with the use of the cane and stuff, is you mentioned the importance of knowing your environment and how important that
Yes.
is, and to know, like knowing the right direction when you're traveling and getting around. So,
Hmm.
can you talk maybe about some of the challenges that that you have faced, and how your white cane or any other type of mobility devices um, have really you know benefited the ability to travel and to get around and knowing your environment, and how you've sort of adapted to seeing the world without sight.
Differently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Sure. So, the biggest thing is to not be afraid of going out. Because I know a lot of people, and I see this on Facebook a lot with some of the groups that I'm on. I'm newly blinded, or I haven't traveled in a while, and I'm afraid of going out. Well, that's when you just have to not be afraid of that. What is fear? It's things that are appearing real that are not real.
Hmm.
See, if you do it afraid, you're going to get better at it the next time.
Hmm.
And yes, technology has helped out a lot, but even if you just go around the block in your home or your apartment or wherever, it will take time. But technology has helped out a lot to the point where it gets you pretty much and tells you on applications with specific applications that are designed for visually impaired and blind pedestrians, the street names, street crossings, upcoming streets. It'll guide you with directions, and you can kind of get an idea of what's going on or what's around. But then there's also visual aid interpretation services like Ira and Be My Eyes that can get you to that 50 feet next to the door, or even inside the place and get you to where you need to be and what you want, what you're looking for. For instance, if you're going into Walgreens, you need something specific, you can pull up Ira and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this, and I think it's over to the left of me and to the right. Can you make sure it's where I think it is? And if not, can we go search and find it?" And that's something that really helps. But then I'll just say as well that sometimes you've been doing O&M for a while and you think you think that you're too good for your own self, and you end up let's just let's just say in the median of a street of a street, and you don't know it, which has happened to me one time. And I thought, okay, I know where I'm at. I don't need Ira to get back, and I ended up in the median of the street. And thank God there was somebody there to get me back to the sidewalk. And so sometimes you should just have tools and use them, even though if you think you don't need it, because it will end up that you should have used it way
To begin
before
with,
getting
yeah,
out of to
yeah.
begin with, right?
So O&M, for
Uh,
anybody that doesn't know, is orientation and mobility.
yes.
And
Hmm.
so, but no, you hit on a really good thing, point there. It's like, and you said overconfidence. Well, it's not confidence. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I don't need this. I'm good. But
Hmm.
we need these tools for a reason, and so,
Right.
and it's not like
Right.
we get better. It's not like our sight is better. You can be,
Right. But
and
the
the thing
confidence
is,
and the skills are there. It's like,
yeah.
I've done this. I've done this 4 or 5 times. I don't need to do it. Well, should just have it just to be safe
Yeah,
because
but,
you never
be
know.
safe. You don't want
Yeah.
to put yourself in. It's not that you, and I'm
Or
glad you could
others in
laugh about it.
danger.
Yeah, or others in danger. You don't want to. I'm glad you can laugh about it now. But,
Yeah.
the thing is we have to do the things that are in our, and this applies to everybody. You do what's, going to keep you safe and keep you, healthy and out of danger. And, we
Right.
have these tools for a reason, and to not use them at a disadvantage. If you have arthritis, Use
Correct.
use a use an electric can opener. I mean, don't
Mm-hmm.
sit there and try to fidget with be your own, best friend, and use the tools that are
Right.
available. Don't I think something that I think we can be stubborn and be like, nah, I can do it this way because I want to do it, and we're making our lives more difficult
Uh-huh.
when
Exactly.
we
Well,
when we do
I
that.
heard somebody from a podcast that I listened to. He's blind himself and has his own network. He said accepting sighted help is not a being dependent. Not
No, not at
accepting it,
all.
not accepting it is you are being you're not being independent by not accepting it.
No, you're
Yeah,
you're not the only one.
exactly. And
Yeah,
yeah, and I thought about that and I was like, you know what? He's right. He's truly right. If you have a sighted person or can use one of these visual description applications, as I like to call them, use it because number one, if you're using IRA, which is a I call it more advanced because you can do a little bit more things with them with the agents. You're paying for the service anyways in terms of IRA, so why not use it?
yeah, I agree.
You
It's
know.
like, we all need to do what's, use the tools and the things that are available that are going to serve us best.
Hmm.
And to be stubborn and be like, no, I don't need that because, again, I go back to that sense of otherness. There's nothing wrong with it. There's,
Right.
we are all different. We all are, and for people that have a disability or of any kind, whether it be intellectual or
Hmm.
physical or doesn't matter, what we have to use to do accomplish our stuff, whatever it is we need to do, or use it. It's there. It's available. I think that's being comfortable to do that is a space that I think I wish more people could get there faster, because I know in my own case
Yes.
I got in my own way plenty of times. So you already mentioned that you got stuck on a median once, but you
Hmm.
said you had some interesting outcomes.
Hmm.
And so I know for me, I walk into stuff a lot, corners,
Yeah.
displays.
Right.
Once an entire giant display of facial tissues that I knocked over at a store. What sort of interesting outcomes, quote unquote, have you had that you are comfortable sharing, of course?
Sure. Sure. So I've done that, but uh, it was with a big display of like I think it was like candy bars or something.
Oh.
I think I don't really know.
You
I
just
just
heard
heard
crash.
right, exactly. I just heard the crash. I was like, oh crap. Okay, fine. Um, and and that stems from not using the cane or not paying attention, or
Hmm.
you have your mind on something else, or in my case, you're listening to a podcast and you're not really paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's okay. It happens,
but it's okay. It
yeah.
happens. It happens to sighted people as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
Um, and
I
so
know
there's
plenty
no
of
reason to
sighted
be
people that run
embarrassed
into
of
stuff. Yeah, I know plenty of
it. Yeah.
that run into things
Yeah.
all the time, and it's like, you're not the
Hmm.
one that can't see. That's, don't stop stealing my jam.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
go get your own. That's my thing.
Exactly. Go
That's
get your
not,
own. It's
yeah.
mine.
Running into stuff
Yeah.
is my thing. I get the bruises. So
Right.
um, yeah.
I
So
think
what?
for me, like some of the outcomes is, not it can be so being a musician of playing various instruments that require your fingers to have build up calluses. Sometimes I can read Braille incorrectly because I'm not really paying attention, or there may be a dot that I'm just not feeling because I haven't let the calluses wear down just a little bit. And so sometimes I miss information on that. And I'll have to say, look, hey, I'm sorry. I misread this correctly. Here's the correct information or whatever it is. And that can be interpreted too with speech, screen reader speech as well, because sometimes, I know after a long day of listening to a screen reader, the last thing I want to do is listen to another screen reader, but I have
Yeah.
no choice,
Yeah.
you know. So sometimes it can be mistranslations through text messages because I'm not paying attention because my ears are just too tired to listen. um, and so I've had some interesting outcomes with that. Um, and sometimes, it's just interactions with everyday people and not really understanding because they're using gestures or they're using hand signs or the biggest one, hey, come follow me.
Or it's over there. That's my
Or
favorite.
it's yeah, or
My,
it's over there.
where is
Or
that?
pointing,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
or
Over there. Yeah.
pointing and
As they're
walking
pointing, it's
away.
over there. It's over
Yeah,
that way.
yeah,
That
right.
means absolutely nothing to
Absolutely
me.
nothing.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what about like to you, what about like measurements? Is that
Yo.
something that is like a foot or a quarter and a quarter inch or whatever? To
Yeah.
me,
I don't carry around a
what
ruler.
the crap are you talking about? I have no idea. I got a D in geometry, man. I don't understand half that. I told my geometry teacher when I started, I said, look, if this isn't going to fit in another box, I'm just going to get another box till it fits.
Yeah.
She was like, that's not the way it happens. Well, in my
That's how it
mind,
does for
that's
me.
how
Yeah.
it works.
That's how it's going to work for me. Geometry is
Right.
great, but I'm not planning on being an architect.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so you've kind of touched on this already about I think you said like not paying attention or rushing or
Mm,
something, but you also um, you mentioned that it's okay, and I'm quoting here, to slow down and make sure
hmm.
everything is how you want it. That you don't have to. I interpret that as you don't have to have everything be perfect, and that it's okay.
Correct.
You can slow down and you don't have to rush. And I know
Correct.
that anytime I do that, it winds up. Patience is probably the one of the biggest lessons that I've learned.
Yes.
Patient with myself, first of all, and allowing
Right.
myself to be patient with others, and also with public transportation. But
Yeah. Yes, especially with public
so
transportation.
what do you mean
Especially.
by slow down? Is it
Mhm.
how do you what if you can kind of elaborate on what you meant by that?
Sure. So it's slowing down and allowing yourself the time because yes, we have a disability, but we're people too. So we get rushed, we go to things, we do whatever we need to do, but then we don't allow ourselves the grace period to think about how our disability is going to affect what we're doing and make adjustments for that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm learning that in my own life, regardless if it's professional or if it's personal.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I can relate a lot. It's just a fact of life that, sometimes it
Hmm.
takes me longer to do certain things just because
Right.
it takes me longer. And
Hmm.
that is okay. There's nothing wrong with
Yes.
that. And so it's like if I don't give myself the time that I need, I regret it. And so,
Right.
and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
so important. I think that that's such a key. And I think everybody can benefit from that message of slow down. You don't have to, not everything is a marathon, not everything is not everything's a race. What do you
Right.
what's on the other side? What are you racing to?
Hmm.
And just I think everybody could benefit from slowing down a little bit and just pacing themselves and actually live in the moment and enjoy kind of where you're at, instead of always
Right.
thinking oh, I need to be there, I need to be better, living constantly in a rush sort of mindset. I think you don't tend to appreciate what's in front of you. And so I think that's
Correct.
that's a great message, I think. So any nuggets of advice or anything that you could throw out there to the world as a lasting sort of nugget of advice from Aaron that people can take with them?
Sure. If you're interested, ask. Don't just don't just stare, please. Because I'm not I, I'm not going to know. Nobody with a visual disability is gonna know.
I love that.
And
Don't just stare,
yeah,
ask.
right. And it's just that's I guess one thing that frustrates me because I don't mind talking about my disability because I look at it as number one, I might be the only blind person in the state of Lexington, Kentucky that they're gonna know or they're
Yeah,
gonna come in contact with. Number two, I have that ability to break down those barriers and break down those walls. And if I can do that for that one person, they're going to go and say that to multiple people.
yeah,
And that chain starts, right?
yeah,
So,
totally.
but if you're not going, if you're curious and you don't ask because you're worried about offending me, you're worried about not asking the right question, it doesn't matter to me. Some people may act like that,
As,
and I feel
as
sorry for those people
as long as
because,
they're not mean, as long as they're.
well, yeah, but right. But I'm saying like people with disabilities. I've met some people with a
Oh,
disability who are
yeah,
mad at the world
yeah,
because that I shouldn't be like this. Well, guess what?
you
It
are.
happened.
Yeah,
You are. So honestly, get over it and do what you need to do. Learn from it and become better for it.
yeah.
But
It's no place to
don't
live in
take
anger.
it.
Yeah.
It is. It's not, and that just destroys you in your interactions with people. And so, don't act. Don't if you meet one person with a disability and they're angry and mad at the world and they seem to be mad at you, they're not. They're mad at their situation. But don't take
Hmm.
that as every person with a disability is going to be that way because I can guarantee you that a lot of people aren't.
Oh, heck no. I would say the vast majority, I think, we have superpowers.
Yeah,
I don't
this is
ever view
true.
disability as a disadvantage. We have to do things differently, but that is different does not mean bad. It doesn't mean that, it's just how we do things is different. And that's okay.
Yes.
And removing that sense of shame and that sense of, oh well, we are all different. Every single person out there in this world is different, and we all have differences, and some are just a little more extreme.
Right. Yes.
Like in
Yes,
the case of,
exactly.
to having disability, ours are just a little more extreme sometimes,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean we're not capable and we can't and we shouldn't be.
Right.
But I love that. Don't just stare, ask.
Right. Ask. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
so true. So with that, I want to thank you so much for coming on as my guest today and being so open and honest and positive um,
Sure.
and all that and because I think especially about the with the white cane, I think that that's such a misunderstood
Hmm.
thing
Yes.
and it there's nothing wrong with it. Use it. It's a tool. Use it. And so with that, I want
Hmm.
to thank everyone who has tuned in. And remember, new episodes come out every single week. So please tune in, subscribe, and if you could, tell other people, share it. This is the Dissing My Ability podcast. I'm your host, Ken Meeker, and please remember, in the words of Aaron, to slow down, but also to be kind.